Welcome to USA Explained, where we explore America's history, systems, and stories in the simplest and most engaging way. Today, we take a journey through the evolution of U.S. city planning, a story that shaped how millions of Americans live, travel, and connect. Our journey begins in the 1600s, when early colonial towns were built not with long-term vision, but for survival, defense, and daily needs. The streets were narrow, irregular, and often formed naturally as people settled. There was no master plan, no long-term structure, only the needs of the moment. But everything changed in 1682, when William Penn designed Philadelphia. He introduced a bold, revolutionary idea, a city built on a perfect grid, with wide streets, predictable blocks, and open public squares. This became the first major example of organized urban planning in America, and it inspired generations of planners to come. As the United States expanded, planning expanded with it. In 1811, New York City adopted the famous Manhattan Grid Plan, a clean, organized layout of streets and avenues that shaped the identity of the city and influenced almost every growing American town. Then came the Industrial Revolution, bringing factories, railroads, and millions of new residents. Cities grew rapidly, but not always wisely. Overcrowding, pollution, and chaotic streets forced planners to rethink what a city should be. By the late 1800s, a new idea emerged: the City Beautiful movement. It called for beauty, order, parks, and grand public spaces. Chicago's 1893 World's Fair showcased this vision to the entire country. And soon cities began adding boulevards, monuments, and green spaces to create more dignified and inspiring urban environments. The early 1900s introduced another major step: zoning laws. New York City pioneered the first zoning code in 1916, regulating building height, land use, and density. These rules shaped how American cities looked and laid the foundation for the skylines we recognize today. After World War II, everything changed again. Highways stretched across the nation. Families moved to newly planned suburban neighborhoods. Shopping centers, driveways, and wide car-focused streets became the new American lifestyle. Cities struggled as the population shifted outward. By the 1970s, planners knew the system needed balance. Urban renewal projects, public transit systems, and downtown improvements were introduced to bring life back to city centers. Old buildings were preserved, new parks were created, and cities began to reinvent themselves. Then came the 1990s, with the rise of new urbanism, a movement focused on walkable streets, mixed-use areas, and community-friendly design. It was a return to human-centered planning, placing people, not cars, at the forefront of development, at the heart of the city. Today, U.S. city planning continues to evolve. We see smart city technology, greener buildings, cleaner energy, better transit, and sustainable design. Modern planners work to create cities that are healthier, more efficient, and more connected than ever before. The goal is simple: cities built for people, for their movement, their happiness, their safety, and their future. This is the story of American city planning, a story of constant change, bold ideas, and endless innovation. And even after hundreds of years, the evolution of the American city is